goblins! Today's video is a little different. I've decided to share a cute story I wrote a few weeks ago and illustrate a couple of scenes from the story in the background. The story is called Moonrise, and it is about a werewolf and her girlfriend going through a full moon together. Trigger warning for descriptions of body horror and transformations, and some minor mentions of fantasy ableism and fetishization. I hope you enjoy it. Jordan hadn't felt this anxious before the full moon since she'd been a pup, changing for the first time with the onset of puberty. She didn't have the excuse of it being the first time, though. No, it was just the first time that her new girlfriend would see. It wasn't like Bea didn't know she was a werewolf. Jordan always put that fact in her dating profile, in case it was a turn-off for people. Unfortunately, 9 times out of 10 it was, or it was too much of a turn-on for Jordan to be entirely comfortable. She hadn't managed to end up in a proper, healthy relationship since high school, and she didn't want to screw this one up. When she and Bea had first met up in person at a small cafe near the park, Jordan had braced herself for animal-in-bed jokes, uncomfortably invasive questions, or weird looks at the scar on her face and the cane she used for the joint pain her transformations caused. Bea had done none of that. Instead, she'd asked Jordan if the book she'd read on lycanthropy was accurate, then hadn't mentioned Jordan's condition unless Jordan brought it up first. Jordan thought she'd fallen in love right then and there. She only fell more in love when she realized Bea had been watching videos about werewolves to find ways to support her new girlfriend. Bea had a list of Jordan's canine allergies on her kitchen counter, and had pinned all the disability-accessible locations in the area for potential dates. Jordan had never felt so accepted by a non-werewolf. Part of her was worried it was all too good to be true. There was no logical reason Jordan should have been nervous today. She knew Bea had read about what the transformations would do to her, had even watched videos of the process, but videos couldn't properly convey what it was like to transform. What if seeing it happen to Jordan was too much for Bea? What if seeing her girlfriend transform into a beast scared the tiny woman off? It had to be done sooner or later, of course, if this was to be a long-term relationship. After only 2 months, Bea had raised the question of moving in together, the lease in her apartment expiring soon. Jordan had agreed, with the caveat that she wanted Bea to see what happened to her every month before committing. Bea had seemed almost excited to see Jordan's wolf form. Jordan wished she felt that excitement. She was almost nauseous from nerves. The doorbell rang, and Jordan jumped, immediately regretting it as several joints clicked painfully. Rubbing her shoulder, Jordan pushed herself off the couch and limped to the door. The distance wasn't long enough to need her cane, even if the pain was worse today. Jordan opened the door and smiled as Bea greeted her with a kiss, stepping inside. Bea smelled like the plant nursery where she worked, as well as vanilla and lemon shampoo. Her hair was curly brown, shaved on one side, and she had flower earrings in the color of the pansexual flag. She was wearing Jordan's flannel, which was adorably oversized on her. "How are you doing?" Bea asked, as Jordan closed the door behind them. "Okay," Jordan said with a slight groan. "A little nervous, if I'm being honest." "It hurts, doesn't it?" Bea said with sympathy, but not the overly polite, insipid sympathy most people gave her. Jordan, however, shook her head with a laugh. "I'm not nervous about the transformation," she said. "I'm nervous about you seeing it." "Oh," Bea said. "Well, you can stop being nervous then. Is it okay that I brought a picnic? It's all safe food for you, but I don't know if you'd want to eat that close to Moonrise." Jordan smiled even wider, kissing Bea fiercely. "I love you." "Love you too," Bea laughed. "I wore outdoor clothes just like you said to. Would you like me to drive as well?" "That would be great," Jordan said. "I hate driving on the full moon, but the other option's the bus, and that's always full of sweaty werewolves. It's a bit much. We should take my car, though. Not sure if yours will cope with the road." "Of course," Bea said. "Don't worry, I know how to drive a manual. As long as you can give me directions." "We should probably be off then," Jordan said, checking her watch. The moon wouldn't rise for a few hours, but it was best to arrive at the park early rather than risk transforming during the commute. They didn't talk much during the drive. Jordan's brain was beginning to feel foggy, and Bea was a little out of practice with shifting gears. Instead, they listened to a playlist Bea had made of both of their favorite music. Bea tapped her fingers in time with Centuries by Fall Out Boy, and they both sang along to Girl in Red's Girls. Bea steered the bulky car off the main road and up the track to the national park, where the local werewolves could run wild for one night every month. Their car was far from the only car in the parking lot, but there were plenty of empty spaces. Jordan recognized a few of the other local werewolves as they pulled into a spot near the picnic tables. Bea pulled the handbrake up and switched off the speakers. "I'll get your cane if that's all right," Bea offered, stepping out and opening the back door. Jordan let her, using it to help her out of the passenger seat, wincing as her back cracked. She glanced at the sky, then at the app on her phone that told her what time the moon would rise. "We've got a bit more than an hour," Jordan said. "You said you brought a picnic?" "I brought 2, actually," Bea said. "I read that werewolves get really hungry after the transformation because of how much energy it burns. So we've got 1 basket for now, and I have another for you tomorrow morning. And I have some snacks for me during the night. Is that okay? I haven't overstepped, have I?" "God, no," Jordan said. "You've done so much, thank you." "I hope it's good," Bea responded. "I baked the cookies myself. I know you can't have too much sugar." Jordan interrupted her with a kiss. She was several inches taller than Bee, and Bee stumbled back, grabbing Jordan's neck to keep from falling. The picnic was amazing. Bee's food was always amazing. Watching Bee's hazel eyes lit with the last rays of the sun slipping below the horizon, Jordan wished she could freeze the moment. Despite how much she knew Bee cared, there was still a part of her that was afraid Bee would leave after tonight. If these were the last moments they were together, Jordan wanted to commit it to memory. Bee's freckles, the gold locket she always wore, her overalls with muddy knees over a simple green t-shirt, Jordan's flannel tied around her waist in the warmth of the sun. Bee had a gap between her front teeth as she smiled at Jordan. She had a faint scar where she'd once had an eyebrow piercing she'd later regretted. "You're beautiful," Jordan muttered, still lost in Bee's eyes. Dimples appeared on Bee's cheeks as she grinned. "You are too, my wolf," Bee said, her pale fingers brushing Jordan's darker and more calloused ones. The sun vanished over the horizon. Jordan stood up with a groan, helping Bee pack away the remains of the picnic. Around them, most of the werewolves began to limp to the woods, abandoning jackets and shoes near their cars or on the picnic benches around them. Bee shivered in the evening breeze, pulling Jordan's flannel back on her freckled arms. Jordan, meanwhile, was taking off her flannel, shoving it into a backpack. She began to remove each of her piercings and carefully place them in the pockets of her baggy jeans. "Not long now," Jordan said. "Are you sure you want to watch this? It's not pretty." "I'm sure," Bee said. "I'm here for you." "I'll stay close to the cars, just back in the woods. Most of the werewolves go in further, so it'll just be you and me," Jordan said. "And that way, if you want to run, it's not far to the car. You have the keys still, right?" Bee nodded, frowning. "I'm not going to run, you know that, right?" Jordan just shrugged, leaning on her cane as she began to walk into the woods. Bee followed. A little way into the trees, away from all the other beings, Jordan slid her bag off her shoulders and onto the damp ground. She pulled her t-shirt off, then sat to remove her shoes and socks. Bee took each article of clothing and placed it carefully in the bag. Jordan felt a shudder in her spine, her bones beginning to shift. She hurriedly unfastened her bra and pulled her underwear off, standing naked in the woods as the moon started to rise. Bee was still there. "I won't blame you if you look away," Jordan said, taking Bee's shoulders. "I won't lie, it hurts and I will scream. I promise I won't hurt you, but if you're scared, just leave." "I'm not leaving," Bee said. "I love you." I love you too," Jordan grunted, doubling over as the pain began. She gasped for breath, bracing herself for the next wave she knew was coming. Glancing up in the moment between agony, she saw Bee still standing there, Jordan's bag in hand, watching with concern, but no disgust or fear. Jordan fell to her knees in the dirt as her bones cracked. Her arms were lengthening, dark brown fur sprouting from her skin over shifting muscles. Her neck snapped and she whimpered in pain, her teeth elongating as her jaw deformed. With a final howl of pain, a brown wolf stood in the clearing where Jordan had been. Shaking her paws out, Jordan turned in a circle, then faced Bee, a whine at the back of her throat as she tilted her head. Bee was standing completely still, mouth open. Seeing Jordan the wolf looking at her, she hastily closed it. Her eyes were wide. Jordan's heart sank, waiting for the yelp of terror. It didn't come. Instead, there was a squeal of delight that made Jordan's ears ring, and Bee took a cautious step forward, holding out a hand and waiting to see if Jordan would allow the touch. Jordan yipped in surprise, but stepped forward so that Bee's outstretched hand met her furry back. Bee patted. Then she patted again with more confidence, stroking her girlfriend's long, soft fur. She dropped the bag she was holding and put both hands on Jordan's coat, then draped her whole body across Jordan's back, rubbing her cheek in the softness. Jordan laughed, or as close as a wolf is able to laugh. "You're so soft," Bee murmured, head still buried in her girlfriend's fur. "So fluffy. I could fall asleep here. Can I take a photo?" Jordan nodded. Still lounging on her back, Bee pulled her phone out and took a photo, the flash reflecting off Jordan's eyes. Then she stepped back and took another. Jordan posed again, then threw her head back and howled with joy. Bee laughed and then tried to imitate the howl. Another howl in the distance. The woods were full of wolves, but Bee had eyes only for one. Jordan was a large wolf, large enough for a small woman to ride her for a short distance. Jordan lowered her head by her girlfriend's legs and nudged her, signaling to get on. Bee looked at her, uncomprehending. When another nudge did nothing, Jordan took a claw and clumsily drew in the dirt, a stick figure on the back of some kind of creature. "You want me to climb on?" Bee asked uncertainly. Jordan nodded. Hesitantly, Bee clambered onto her girlfriend's back, arms wrapped around her neck. Jordan took a few loping steps forward, then began to run. Bee yelped, then screamed in joy and adrenaline. Jordan didn't take her far. She could run for miles, but didn't want Bee to become afraid in the woods alone with the beast. She was just so filled with euphoria that Bee hadn't run, hadn't left, still loved her. Jordan ran in a circle through the woods, passing a few other werewolves in the distance, who glanced at Bee on her back, then went about their own nights, leaving them alone. After an hour, Jordan returned to the parking lot. Bee was shivering slightly, huddled against Jordan for warmth. Jordan sat, allowing Bee to clamber off shakily. "That was amazing! You're amazing!" Bee said, eyes wide and smile wider. "You're powerful, you're beautiful. God, I love you." "Oh!" was all Jordan could say back. Bee snuggled against her fur again, looking up at the bright full moon and stars. Bee didn't want to leave Jordan, but the night was only growing colder, and while Jordan was wide awake and full of energy, Bee wasn't. Jordan gently nudged her toward the car around midnight. Bee had intended to sleep in the back seat, having brought blankets and everything. Jordan would stay close. She could survive a full moon without running for miles. Bee, however, had other ideas. She climbed into the back seat, then climbed out again, blanket, pillow, and a bag of pretzels in hand. Jordan cocked her head. "You're infinitely more comfortable than the back seat," Bee said. "Shake your head if you don't want to, but I thought maybe I could cuddle up to you." Jordan kept her head perfectly still, then turned and led Bee up the hill a bit, to a base of a spreading tree. She nuzzled the sticks and leaves at the base away until there was a clear patch of dirt. Bee laid the picnic blanket down, then waited for Jordan to lay on top of it. Jordan obliged. Bee then wrapped herself neatly in her blanket and leaned on Jordan's side. She crunched a few pretzels, offered a handful to Jordan, who ate them out of her hand, then snuggled up into fur and fell asleep. Jordan could never sleep on full moons. She always felt too restless and wound up for it. But with Bee curled up next to her, she felt perfectly at peace, content to watch the stars, her tail wagging slightly, then going still as she too drifted into a doze. It was a rather rude awakening to have the wolf you were sleeping on suddenly yelp in pain and turn into a human. Bee didn't mind, though. She checked that Jordan was okay, which Jordan was, then handed her the backpack of clothes. Jordan stiffly pulled on her shirt and flannel, rubbing at various joints as they adjusted to her human form. Bee brushed the loose hair from Jordan's face and kissed her. "I love you, my wolf," Bee murmured. Other werewolves, some already dressed and some stark naked, were emerging now from the woods. Some were limping or bore scratches from fights or running into branches, and most were sore and very, very hungry. Jordan and Bee ignored them. They were entirely focused on each other. "You haven't been scared off, then?" Jordan breathed, breaking away from Bee's lips for a moment. Bee shook her head vehemently, her nose bumping against Jordan. "If anything, I've fallen even more in love with you, if that's possible." "I've never loved you more," Jordan responded, pulling Bee closer again. I hope you enjoyed listening to me share this story I wrote. It's cheesy and sweet and not very polished, but it was really fun to write. If you liked this very different type of video, let me know. I have a lot more short stories I'd love to share. Until next time, bye!